All right, welcome back everyone after a break, a very productive break, and welcome Jamie, I think everyone else was on from before, so welcome back everyone. Just to recap a bit what we've been discussing. So last Saturday, after a full 25-hour block party, a couple hours later, we kicked off an 8-hour segment led by Silas, where he invited all of his guest speakers, his guest interviewees from segments over the previous 2.5 weeks to a one final, long format meeting. And the bottom line that emerged from that is, something that we knew about, but now, we got an update on, but then also something that we didn't know about that just emerged from the meeting. What we knew about was that Silas was working on an app called K-Mama, where you buy one, gift one. You buy a vegan meal from a restaurant, they deliver it to your home, and then for everyone that you buy, that restaurant gifts one. So maybe you pay an elevated price because it contains within the cost of the additional meal they're going to gift to somebody else. And then what's emerged from that is, in parallel with that, so let's say you're buying a meal for your family, you're going to spend $50. You're going to spend the same $50 regardless of whether you press button A or press button B. Press button A would be buy one, gift one. Button B would be buy one, gift 10. But wait a second, you're saying it's the same price, same $50? Yep, same $50. And I get the same food delivered to my house. Yep. Well, what's the difference? Well, buy one, gift one, maybe you send an equivalent meal to your auntie's house because you want her to try this really good vegan cuisine. Because you said, oh, no, I don't want to eat vegan. No, we'll try it. Okay, great. Buy one, gift 10 is a whole different concept. Here's the concept. Now, broaden your scope way beyond that restaurant to all the local farming in that area that feeds that city, to all the restaurants that are now shutting down, going bankrupt, laying off employees, right? All the farms that are having to plow under their produce for lack of demand from the restaurant sector, right? And in some cases, issues around pickers and all that and safety. Anyway, the bottom line is that the machine is breaking. It is in the process of breaking. And so whole vital connecting rods and links and portions of the supply chain, the food supply chain and food network are just getting trashed, demolished, or in various states of disrepair and damage. Let's put it that way. So what we're proposing is nothing less than orchestrating a complete redesign, reconfiguration, reactivation. Get the machine fixed and running, up and running under a new modality. How are we going to do this? One city at a time, and then 10 cities at a time, and then 100 at a time, and then 1,000 at a time, and then 10,000 at a time, exponential. Because once it's a proven model that a city can actually feed its people, right? Every city's going to want it. Every city's going to demand it. Every city's going to need it. And once we've fed everyone, we'll get into the details as we go. But we've basically got the beginnings of a model, there's other vital pieces that I need to fill in, right? But, Jamie, you and I have talked about this enough, about how we wanted to get this going with the community cafes in Ohio and all that. Anyway, that you get the idea, except this is basically that community cafe on wheels, right? And we would, in the process, save the farms, save the restaurants, save the jobs, keep people gainfully employed, perhaps with a different kind of gain in mind, right? Where it's more like we're all pulling together. And the farmer is basically saying, look, take the produce, please donate to me diesel and, maintenance services and whatnot, so I can keep my tractors going and keep things rolling. and bring the pickers, right? Basically, let's work together. Let's all just stone soup style contribute what we've got. And okay, fine. Maybe it's not that simple. Maybe a certain business or a certain farmer has certain costs that they just can't escape, can't avoid. All right. We ask for donations. You know, wealthy people, you're sitting on all the cash. You're sitting on all the money. The rest of us are quickly running out of food and running out of money, right? We need you to ante up to help, you know, get this whole system going. But ultimately, it's going to be a phased transition to a new modality as regards food, where, you know what, the agriculture, the edible living forest, the permaculture, the full spectrum, because, you know, it's going to be lots of different solutions, not just one, you know, cut and dried solution that applies to all. But what all will have in common is nutritious plant-based foods that are immune boosting, that boost the immune system rather than break it down like today's processed food industry and meat industry, meat and dairy are causing. So that's the you know, that's the big picture, is revamping the whole thing. And in the process, I would say it's partly about you know, a spiritual transformation of humanity coming together and all pulling together as a collective intelligence. Now, strategically, you say, well, you know, how on earth are you going to get this done? We do it stone soup style. We focus on one big pot, right? And this is the metaphor for one city. We focus all of our efforts on one city. Louisville, Kentucky is a city where one of our people, John Raymer, has a close connection to the mayor, who is apparently a phenomenal mayor. And he, in fact, has boldly stated that Louisville is the most compassionate city in the country, right? And he played a video of him talking about the project that they're working on together. It's basically an extension of the Compassionate Games called the Karuna Games. And this would fit right in with that, where we basically create a collective intelligence focused on Louisville and ending hunger in Louisville. But of course, people from all over the world could participate. People who are interested in learning about how to end hunger in a given city, right? So it's like all eyes on Louisville and all PayPals on Louisville, right? All donations. So, you know, it's just like a solar concentrator of the rays of the sun. We concentrate efforts on one city, say Louisville. We make it happen. We end hunger in Louisville. And we invite the media at every step of the way, including notably a kickoff press conference. And here's where I'll just pull up on the screen, if I may. Just some slides that show some of my experience in this department, which I would love to bring my full repertoire of knowledge and capabilities. And I'm referring to going back to when I created the first brand of premium cannabis in the world. And I put out a press release, and the same day the media came to get the scoop. And then it went international. Everyone's talking about the Bill Gates of bud. And I got invited back to get interviewed on Fox Business back in New York. Here I am getting interviewed by Deborah Borchardt of The Street on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, announcing the .bong era of legalized cannabis. But it was when I invited in my old friend, former Mexican President Vicente Fox, that the thing just totally exploded. We had media all over the place. So can you imagine a parallel universe where instead of it being about the legalization of cannabis and the Bill Gates of bud and all this, imagine that it's about ending hunger. Oh, and ending pandemics by enabling people to stay at home and not have to go out for food. We deliver the food, right? A parallel universe, a story with, if anything, more juice to it, right? Than this one that I'm sharing about, you know, my experience in the world of cannabis. Ending hunger. What could be more exciting than ending hunger and ending pandemics and bringing the world together, right? And making our food systems work again. And why shouldn't they work, right? I mean, it's such an obvious thing. If our food networks are broken, our people go hungry. If the people go hungry, there will be mayhem, and it will death spiral down and deep into Mad Max territory. And we may never come out of it, especially with exponential planetary overheating, absent global dimming, which we're now losing as the global economy contracts. So I really don't see any alternative other than jumping in head first in the dark into the unknown, right? Into the cave that Luke Skywalker heads into halfway through The Empire Strikes Back, right? We don't know what we're going to find in there. But this is, what this essentially does is it undoes the separation. It will undo the separation, the rift between humanity and nature and humanity and each other caused by the so-called agricultural revolution, right? This will bring humanity back together, and it will bring us back together with Mother Earth, with Mother Nature, because we'll stop killing our brother and sister species, the other animal species, for our own taste buds or ego or, well, shoot, boy, that's the way our daddy, granddaddy, great-granddaddy did it. That's the way we're going to keep doing it, boy, right? And, you know, if you consider how much of culture is mixed in with food. So right now that all the deck of cards are being thrown into the air, think about it in slow motion, all these cards flipping through the air. What is the new house we want to build of these materials? And do we want it to be fragile like the old one, or do we want it to be solid, right? Maybe bring in some glue and some popsicle sticks and reinforce it, right? What do we want to build next? Now is when I would posit that the world is ready for a big transformational conversation, because our backs are up against the wall and it's not looking pretty for any of us if this whole thing just keeps on overheating. So, and again, and this is the key point that I don't want to be missed. I don't think we're going to be successful at rallying together around SRM if we don't have our act together internally and people are taken care of. If we're leaving half the world to starve to death, right? I don't think they're going to be very happy about it. And I think you're going to see more airplanes flying into more buildings and more, you know, bombs going off in more cities and just more terrible stuff happening as the half of the world that got left behind says to the other half, you know, screw you, right? Let's not go that route, especially since it's so efficient to just feed everybody, right? We were talking earlier, Stephanie was mentioning earlier about an orphanage up in Nepal that to feed the whole orphanage, all they need is $60 a month. And at first you're like, what? That can't be. But then think about it. Think about the cost of a burlap sack full of rice in Nepal, right? That was just grown right down the road or whatever, right? don't think about it American dollars, which have already been imported and processed and who knows what else. It's super cheap, especially with hard currency like the US dollar. So what that points to is, look, there's an urgent need to just take holistic stock of the whole situation and attend to all of our hungry in all countries. But the way to do that is one domino at a time, right? Think all the dominoes from V for Vendetta, this whole beautiful multi-stream configuration of dominoes that all fell in a beautiful sequence. Think of it in those terms. And so even if we start in Louisville, it's not that there's more hunger in Louisville than there is in Nepal. But it's because we need to send the world a message, and we need to find a place that makes sense to start. Could be Berkeley, California. It could be Tempe, Arizona, Mesa, Arizona. These are the cities that are, on a short list right now that we're looking at. The point is, we pick one city or two. Maybe it's a tale of two cities, and we bring the media, and we do a press conference similar to the slides that I was showing. Very, very effective in getting the word out. And as we get the word out, then we create a place where the rest of the world can come and participate in video conferences just like this one, right? And welcome, Kathy. I had invited some folks from Helpful Engineering, HE, to join us today. I don't know if any of them have come or are coming, but just wanted to mention that. And in fact, the big idea here is that we invite, everyone interested in participating in ending hunger to, be part of a global movement. And, the reality is that there are efforts going on to feed people all around the world, have been for ages. And this is not the only one, but there is a real opportunity here to capture the US media, which is in many ways the heart of global media, right? And get the world's attention. Again, not because we're doing the most unique or no. We simply have a story to tell. Louisville eradicates hunger. What? Louisville committing to eradicate hunger. Can you imagine the cojones, pardon my French, that the mayor of Louisville will have to commit to that? That's a big deal, right? That's a make you or break you. Make you if you do it, break you if you don't kind of commitment, right? Well, let's make it together. Let's all go in together, right? So that's kind of where we're at in the conversation. In terms of the buy one, gift 10, that with the restaurants, all the foods would be donated to the restaurants the restaurant would basically just be paying for the maquila, as we say in Spanish, or the value add on top of the ingredients. So the ingredients would be donated. People could call up and say, hey, I want to donate a truckload of rice. Why not? If you have the means, and then, wait till you see the first billionaire step up and donate $1 billion to these efforts, right? And then the other billionaires will all feel the heat. And even after Bill Gates has donated $5 billion, the question remains, what are you doing with the other $85 billion, Bill? Right? People are still hungry. These billionaires should have done this a long time ago. And between all of them, they can probably just ante up, 10% of their combined wealth, and it'll be just problem solved, right? So with this, we kind of create that challenge. And there's two stories that'll be going in parallel, okay? One is the story of Stone Soup, which is how we actually just get out there. One of the vital lessons of Stone Soup, remember, is that they just got out there and started. They didn't wait till they had all the ingredients all lined up and washed and cleaned. No. They had 0 ingredients, right? So they took a magical ingredient that cost them nothing. They were penniless. They didn't have a single penny. They took this one ingredient that cost them nothing, a stone, which really represents an idea, a dream, a vision. That's what we're reactivating here with Stone Soup. We're just starting, and we're saying, jump in with us, commit with us, and let's do this. Let's take this one city, let's eradicate hunger, and let's show the world, A, it can be done, and B, how beautiful it is when you do it. And how we'll bring that whole community together. And in so doing, we'll bring the nation together. We'll bring the world together. And they'll say, wow, it really is possible. And if they can do it there, they can do it anywhere. What are we waiting for? Let's do it, right? And it'll be like the British invasion of the Beatles coming to the United States in the 60s, but it'll be the food invasion. The food invasion to everybody's doorstep. Nutritious, immune-boosting, plant-based foods for all. Done and done. And we'll never go back. And why did it take us this long? Right? Come on. But anyway, but let's not look back. Let's look forward. And let's get it done. And we have to get it done because the alternative to leave half the people starving, just rough numbers, especially as exponential climate change continues to rear its ugly head exponentially, we'll have crop failures. And then we're really in trouble. So to avert that, here is the plan in real simple terms. We take hunger off the table. We end hunger in this ultra compassionate way. Whole foods, plant-based diet. Immune boosting. In so doing, we unite humanity in a way like we haven't been united ever, really. And we all enjoy 3 meals a day together. And before and after our meals, and maybe even during, if the going is good, we're on meetings and we're developing and applying our collective intelligence into a collective super intelligence, which will answer all the questions regarding how we need to get SRM done at a planetary scale. Why? Because we have to, right? Did the Soviet Union, or what was fast becoming the Soviet Union, did their farmers set their fields on fire and their whole industrial base move from west to east across mountain ranges and everything during World War II? Because they wanted to? No, because they had to, or they wouldn't survive. Simple as that. We're in a similar situation right now. And this situation is the perfect moment to say hello and welcome to my sister, Denise.
Hello. I just want to let you know that I've invited my friend Ray to come in. So I gave him the link so when he comes in to welcome him too.
Absolutely. Heck yeah.
Okay.
And thank you. We're in the middle of an amazing conversation, Denise.
Okay, great.
So you're arriving at just the perfect time. So where we're at is we includes Dr. Silas Rao, Dr. Priya. Let's see here. It says Radat Tonic coming in.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's Ray. Okay, awesome. I just hit okay. Hello, Ray. Welcome. Hey, and we are recording now with intent to publish. Is that cool with everybody? In fact, I'm going to pause. All right. Ray, Denise, welcome to you both. Would anyone like to say anything by way of introduction? For my part, welcome to the Solution Club at the beginning of the new world, which started off about just under 3 years ago after some intense work with Professor Guy McPherson, we then launched the Social Club at the end of the world, and it has evolved into the Solution Club at the beginning of the new world. So welcome, 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 and microphone to you all to say hello if you choose. By the way, there's never any pressure to talk on the Solution Club, so you will never be put on the spot. If you're asked a question, you can always you don't have to speak. But this is also a very safe place, as everyone has come to know. Something I'm very proud of and happy about. Anyway, back to you guys, and welcome again.
Hi, gentlemen. This is my friend Ray, or Rade. I call him Ray. I met him as Ray, and I met him in Tulum and in Mexico, and we've been having some really interesting conversations. I actually met him through one of the builders of seeds. So, and Ray has a lot of interesting ideas that are also in parallel, or can be integrated with a lot of the more technology ideas that a lot of us are putting out. I just want to say really quickly that I'm having a systems designer salon or roundtable tomorrow, where a couple systems designers are presenting their ideas for 10 minutes, and then it's discussion. And so if there's another systems designer, and it's based on new economies and equity sharing in groups. And and Ray is one of the presenters tomorrow.
Yeah, nice to meet you all. Thanks for having me on this call. And yeah, looking forward to what unfolds here. Yeah, I've been on my spiritual quest for, 15 plus years, but had some profound downloads like a couple years ago, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. And then just been working on the systems and the projects of helping usher in this new golden age. And back then I thought I was alone, but now with this COVID and all, like the last year of travel and connecting with people, seeing that I'm not alone, so it's nice to see that the burden is a little off my shoulders, but I'm still excited to get out there and bring people together and come together with people to create this new world.
Beautiful. Welcome, Ray, Rade, however you prefer to be called, just let us know.
Sure.
Awesome. And I cannot welcome you enough. You have come to the right place. And what we're discovering is there's a lot of right places out there in the Zoomosphere. And, one of the great challenges and even greater opportunities for humanity is that we bring this whole network of, I'm just going to call them amazing transformational conversations, right? That are also loving and compassionate and equitable. And round up the usual suspects, to quote Casablanca, which Melissa's grandfather, Howard Koch, actually wrote Casablanca. Anyway, so I've been using that expression for years. So anyway, round up the usual suspects of all of these things that matter, all these facets that are important. And the new golden age, that's exactly it. And, so many of us felt like we were alone during the last several years. I had my big enlightenment, I don't know, 6 years ago, a little over 6 years ago, closer to 7. Anyway, and it was just like, whoa. I mean, once it grabs you, it really grabs you, because you see the gap between what is and what could be, and what is in a death spiral. And yet, anyway, I could go on and on. Back to you guys, and then whenever we want, we can get back into a really cool conversation about something very specific that we're creating. Oh, but I also wanted to mention before I forget this. So the systems design meetings that you're having, what are the days and times of those?
At the moment, it's going to be Wednesday at 11. So tomorrow's going to be the first one, but it might change to Thursday or another time, because I want to make sure that Brett can be one of the presenters, hopefully next week, and as well as a guy named Josh Pasmore. But Jamin, I would love to have you present your ideas as well. And if there's other systems designers, I really think that a lot of us are coming together to create a lot of works and ideas. But Jamin, I don't actually have the best way to get in touch with you besides coming on here. Hey, Jamin, can I talk to you? Let's get on Zoom.
Okay. Well, I thought we were on email. I had sent you an email with my info, based on your All right, so back from a quick little break. So, all right, that sounds super cool. The systems design Wednesday at 11. Love to be there. Would love to present. Would love to be a part of any kind of discussion. I am putty in your hands. You know, when I've got my big 2 weekly meetings, outside of that, very available. Although as soon as I said very available, I smiled because this new thing, relatively new thing, that's just getting hatched up over the last several days is starting to become sort of front and center. So very exciting as a specific topic within the broader collective superintelligence, which is kind of my bread and butter, so to speak. Definitely, because I don't get any money from it. I just spend money on it, happily so, because it's worth, because we urgently need it. Anyway, so more on collective superintelligence a little later, but the big idea that we've been working on, if this is a good moment to jump back into that, or if there's anything else to say that anyone would like to say before I start jumping into that, the summary of that. We all good? Okay. So here it is. What we're talking about in the broadest possible terms is reconfiguring and in many ways rebuilding the food networks of the world, from farm to, city and town, to food service, restaurants, processing, producing food, and distribution of food, right? At scale, whole foods, plant-based, with, among other objectives, a very primary objective of eradicating hunger and malnutrition from our planet. No exceptions. Doing it again with whole food, plant-based diet, and that is moreover immune boosting for all people. And among the advantages that this will have, and where it's all distributed. So in an organized way, we organize ourselves, not with market forces, which are simply broken and are not working anymore. It's not that they were fundamentally, well, no, they were fundamentally wrong, given that we live on the planet, the finite planet that we live on, and we simply cannot keep destroying it. So, but beyond that, even if that weren't the case, the market forces in the current environment, where we have a vastly shrunken and shrinking economy that is so disrupted, market forces simply aren't going to get out of this mess. It's going to take something different. And that's what we're co-creating the plan and the mechanisms for. Welcome, Uncle Frank. Dr. Frank Shively in the house. Welcome. All right. We've got quite a group here today, Uncle Frank. And with you here, now it's perfect. So welcome back. All right. So we're talking about redesigning and reconfiguring and rebooting. Actually, rebooting is a great word. The world's food networks in a holistic way, and in a way that we basically let the dying animal agriculture, animal factory farm sector, that's just dying on the vine. We let it die, right? I forget which historical figure, and Jamie maybe can help me with the reference, but maybe it was Napoleon. But never interfere with the enemy when they're in the process of self-destruction, right? And that's what the factory farm sector is in the process now, self-destruction. So never interfere. Let them just die on the vine. And and of course, that unleashes all this abundance of plant-based foods that used to be going into factory farming, now are available for people to eat. it also involves a transformation to edible living forests, as well as permaculture, and people growing their own food, rooftop gardens, backyard gardens, windowsill gardens, etc. It's all good, and there is some optimal mix that depends strongly on whether you're in Tokyo or Nebraska or Iceland. And as far as I'm concerned, there is absolutely nothing wrong with using the transportability and versatility and longevity of grains shipping internationally to keep people fed and well nourished. I mean, let's operate as a system, as a whole world, and take down these artificial divisions. Now, that's the big vision. Okay, great. Well, how do we get there? I'm about to talk about how we get there, but first let me pause to see if there's any questions about the big broad brushstrokes, because if I were listening to me, I'd be saying, all right, people have dreamed about a world without hunger for ages. What do you got, Jack? And that's what I'm about to address. But first, let me just pause if there are any questions other than that one, which is kind of the obvious elephant in the room question. How are you going to get there? All right, I'll take that as a signal that everyone's on the edge of their seats, waiting to hear, how are we going to do it? All right. So now we go from big, 200,000 foot elevation view of the whole. Now let's zoom right into the very beginning and exactly what would happen strategically, right? Imagine we start with one city. I'm going to use the example of Louisville, Kentucky, because it's a serious contender for this. But we start with one city in the United States. I'm open to other cities in other countries, but let's just start with Louisville, Kentucky, which has a really awesome progressive mayor, and who's actually president of the Council of Mayors for the whole country or something like that, and calls his city, Louisville, the nation's most compassionate city. And so it's a perfect fit for what we're doing, and this is through some connections we have through John Raymer, has a relationship with the mayor. So just imagine we start in Louisville. Other cities are in the running, and we might do several in parallel, but the point is we start with at least one. And let's say that includes Louisville. And let's also suppose that we do our press conference to launch this also in Louisville, Kentucky. Nolan, welcome back. Great to see you. We got Jamie in the house. We got Denise in the house. And Denise has invited her friend Ray. And Ray's going to give us a wave. There's Ray there you go. Anyway, we got Uncle Frank in the house. We've got our dear friends from Ireland. Anyway, Dot, Emery, Sister Jackie. Anyway, we're just rocking here. So welcome, everybody. I was just sort of recapping and then going a bit deeper on the Food Network solution. So we start with a press conference where, drumroll, we announce the intention of eradicating hunger in the city of Louisville, Kentucky. And we lay out exactly how we are setting about doing it. And that is very Stone Soup style. In fact, we could call the whole thing Operation Stone Soup, right? And one of the principles of the story of Stone Soup, it was done without a penny, without spending a penny. Right? You all know the story, I presume. If you don't, raise your hand and I'll recap it for you happily. And here is how we would mechanistically do it. So Dr. Silas Rao has commissioned an app called K-Mama, which is a nickname for his granddaughter. And The app is very simple. Buy one, gift one. You buy a vegan meal for your family or yourself or whatever, and it gets delivered to your home. Buy one, gift one. For every meal that you buy, a meal is then gifted to someone in need. Someone you could specify, or if you just wanted to make it anonymous and just tell the restaurant, look, you know, if a family comes in and they're hungry, you know, there you go, gift them that meal. And then a variation on that, which is buy one, gift 10. And very parallel scenario, the family orders a meal online, they get the meal. They spend, let's call that scenario B. They spend exactly the same amount of money as scenario A. Let's say it's $50, right? So how is it that in scenario B, it's buy one, gift 10? You know, where does the money to support that come from? It comes from a totally different model. Rather than one meal at a time being prepared individually, packaged individually, sold, distributed individually, one-to-one, in a car, or whatever, it's food at scale. And the food is donated. So when the restaurant receives the food, it's been donated for this purpose, right? Emery does the math and says buy 10, gift 100, and that's the idea. The idea is leverage, massive leverage, because the restaurant receives donated food. I'll get to the details of how we get it donated in a little bit. But donated food comes in, they prepare it, they wash it, they cut it, they, you know, bake it or mix it or whatever they need to do, and then deliver it so that a family receives like a big, you know, Amazon fresh size plastic tub, reusable industrial tub, right? Full of, you know, a half week supply of food, of these delicious, nutritious, and immune boosting. Let's see. Oh, Dharmendra needs to take off. Love you, Dharmendra, brother, and we'll catch you on the rebound, maybe a little later. And feel free to take the mic if you wanted to say hello or goodbye or anything like that, no problem. Okay. And so foods are delivered directly to households, and it's simply done in such an efficient way that, for example, you know, whole neighborhoods would be assigned to a given restaurant or divided up among several restaurants, depending on the capacity of each. And, you know, a restaurant would, you know, cook and prepare for hours and then load up literally a truck full of food, ship it off to their neighborhood or section of a neighborhood, and go door by door delivering these Amazon fresh size plastic boxes of food for the next 2 to 5 days or whatever, right? Whatever frequency we work out that's optimal, right? Who's going to donate the food? Shoot, you know, if I had the money, I would donate truckloads of rice, beans, potatoes, spuds, as you call them in Ireland, produce. Now, what about the produce that's getting plowed under by the farmers because the restaurants that used to buy them are shut down? We go to those farms and we say, all right, you know, let's work something out. We'll bring the volunteers, the pickers, they'll pick the produce and we'll pay you whatever's fair, right? And then going forward, what if you just kind of join the collective, right? And work with us. The collective will provide you the diesel, the maintenance, whatever you need. You do your part, grow the produce just like you've always done, this delicious, nutritious, organic produce. We'll come and pick it. And you become just one of the founding pillars, founding mothers, founding fathers of this movement, where we finally broke the shackles of the agricultural revolution and said, screw it. Enough of this separation and hoarding and half of us starving or malnourished and brain damaged. Enough of that. That's just barbaric. From now on, everybody eats. Nutritious, whole foods, plant-based diet. We launched this in Louisville. We kick it off with a press conference. We kick off Operation Stone Soup with a press conference. And you know what? Why not have a big old cast iron kettle, the kind of thing that would take 12 of us to pick up? And let's put a big smooth stone in there and heat it up for the press conference. Why not? And let's make our first soup a stone soup. Let's honor that story and now take it planetary scale. So from those humble beginnings, and then we'll have the first donated truckloads, and the press will cover it all. And they will be fascinated to see these restaurants, listen to this, going back to work. Okay? You want a feel-good story? Show a bunch of businesses going back to work, feeding people. Show a bunch of farms that were going to plow their produce under, but instead got it picked and deployed. The feel-good story of the first person to donate $1 million. And then that becomes a subtle challenge for all the billionaires. Who will be the first to donate $1 billion to ending hunger? The bottom line is it's time for us to do this. Whether it's done as one big, kumbaya cooperative in a money-free, everything donated kind of way, or whether we use good old American dollars. I have my preferences, you probably have yours, but that's not the point. And we know it. The point is everybody gets to eat, not just the lucky few. And I mean eat well. Only a few of us eat well, proportionally, a small percentage of us. The rest of us, subsistence agriculture or malnourished urban slum, right? That's the majority of humanity. We're the privileged few. We got comments from Natalie, James. I'm going to turn it over to Ireland. We've got Ireland in the house. Go for it, James. You've had your hand up. Thank you for your patience. And Natalie.
One sec, no, I'll just plug in my earphones. You're going to hear me properly then.
Take your time. Take your time.
Read out Natalie's comment there, sure.
Oh, yeah. I'll read Natalie's comment in the meantime. Natalie writes, here in Ireland, there was an event called Feed 5,000, and it was simply all good food that company were going to throw away just because it didn't look shelf good. It was really good and very simple. That's a great example. That's a great example, Natalie, of so many examples where food is going to waste. It doesn't have to go to waste, right? And speaking of food, I'm going to go feed the crows because they've got babies in the nests, and I kind of want to get the timing right here. So do you mind if we take a couple of minute break? Because I don't want to miss what James has to say. In fact, you can watch me feeding the crows if you want. Anyway. I'm going to turn towards the crows. I'll be off camera for a second as I get the food. And you'll hear me talking to them. I talk to them in a particular way. Okay. See the crows there? Hello, Dickwang. Hello, Dickwang. See, they've got babies in nests, so it's important to feed them. You want some food, Dickwang? You want some food, Dickwang? Hello, Dickwang. You want some food, Dickwang? Yeah. And then they fly up into the trees. Hopefully you saw that. And then I sing them a Spanish love song when I feed them. So that's all part of it, part of the ritual. Hello, Dickwang.
Hi guys. I just was hopping on for a little bit today since Jamin is there. I know does he have a schedule for this one?
Not usually.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you for your patience, and I hope you enjoyed this detour into the land of the crows. So we're still recording. So, you know, basically the big vision amounts to starting in one concentrated location, doing a big blast press conference along the lines of what many of you have seen before, but I'll give a brief little micro tour. It's interesting to go back to the roots of some of this, but anyway, brief tour through some of my professional career. First worked with President Vicente Fox back in 2001 when he was the newly minted president of Mexico. Was then at Microsoft for several years. Did some cool stuff there. But then Cannabis, this is the one I wanted, these are the slides I wanted to show you. I did a simple press release announcing to the world that I was creating the world's first premium brand of legalized cannabis. And the media just came in droves. And there was international coverage all around the world. New York, Fox News, Florida, New York Stock Exchange, announcing the .bong era of legalized cannabis. But then when I tapped 12 years later, now former Mexican President Vicente Fox, he came up and we demanded of the Obama administration that they give us a clear answer to the experiment that we were starting in the state of Washington and the state of Colorado. And that was international news. And the Obama administration answered us. We forced their hand. And here's the press conference where we kicked it all off. You can watch the whole thing on YouTube. The picture in the upper right was the front page of the Seattle Times the next morning. Big story. Ex-Mexican president praises Shively's pot effort. We had all the experts there. This is crucial. Here is Dr. Michael Osborne, president of the Strang Institute of Cancer Prevention in New York City. They're the ones who invented the Pap smear, which has prevented more deaths than any other analytic treatment. Here's Henry Wykowski, leading cannabis attorney in the country. It's the who's who, other doctors, other experts, General Skip Dreps, in support of veterans. And we took it international. We did an international tour culminating in a big 3-day symposium in the heart of Mexico, in the heart of the drug war, for the legalization and medical use of cannabis. Uruguay was there, as was all of Latin America, Western Europe, North America. And within a few months, Uruguay became the first country to legalize cannabis as a country. What we're doing is we're essentially, in a very parallel way, eradicating hunger. Legalize cannabis, eradicate hunger, right? They're both fundamental, elemental, and they really represent a total change in worldview, from a worldview where it's okay to let little girls starve to death to a world where it's not. Anyway, I'm going to go on mute. We've covered a lot of ground there. We're still recording. And I'd love to hear people's thoughts, questions, comments, ideas, contributions of any kind. Just jump in.
Well, I was just going to make a point there a while ago anyway, Jim, about organisation of all of this, the food and being brought to the sources and arriving at people's tables. Like at the moment with the Dos Equis situation and people having to be, you know, more or less stay at home. The idea is that people can't really be coming in contact with each other. So, yeah, I'm trying to like think how you go about it really, but I suppose the only ones that really have to be out and about really, if you really think about it, are delivery service people, like the transportation and deliveries. Anyone else, everything else more or less could be done. Like if you had a call line set up for farmers who could possibly be facing with having to destroy their crops, they have a call line. There's a call line set up for them to phone in. They call in to and give notice a few weeks before the harvest is going to be destroyed. And that call line then will be, get in touch with the transportation companies to arrange to have the foods collected. And then that transportation line would have a call line for, we say, contacting local communities for the distribution of the fresh foods and things, and also for contacting the restaurants who volunteer for offering their services for the free foods, and they get the payment then of they get paid for, certain amount of meals, whereas and the other amount then are donated as such, as you said, like, but it can be distributed through local community kitchens as well as local communities, the fresh foods, because a lot of the fresh foods they're fresh foods. They're not something that can kept for a long time, so it'd have to be a continuous situation. So yeah, while the Dos Equis is going, the only one people that could really be moving is the transportation, but it could be done with the rest of the people indoors, all right, I suppose. Nobody really has to be in contact as such, as long as it's all done in sterile conditions. But they do have, like Natalie said, they do have a system like that, and it was set up by the supermarket chain themselves here in Ireland. And basically what it is that at the end of the day, there's a lot of produce left on the shelves that is, not going to be, it's going to be coming to the sell-by date, mostly the fresh produce and meats and fresh produce and things like that, especially refrigerated stuff and everything else. So they basically bought their own chain of refrigerated vans and lorries, and at the end of the day, all the food is literally brought out and it's delivered straight to local charities that deal with the homeless and elderly, and we call it Meals on Wheels, cooked meals to the elderly every day and everything else. There's local charities, community charities that do that, and so they just donate the food to those charities, which is better than throwing it in the bins, basically, which is what happens with most supermarket chains. Like, if the food is reaching the sell-by date, it goes into the bin at the back of the store, which is a sin anyway. So yeah, it's just expansions of that, I suppose. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
No, you're great. I invited everyone to jump in with comments. So great comments, James. Everyone, please feel free to jump in whenever you feel like it. I'll add a couple thoughts building off of what you were talking about, James. Really good stuff. Now imagine, so we talked about how obviously if the restaurants don't need to buy the inputs, they're donated to them for this purpose. Really, they only get paid for essentially the energy that they're expending, electricity, natural gas, whatever, and labor and wear and tear and all that. But so instead of buy one gift one, buy one gift 10, right? I don't know exactly what the multiplier will be, but it'll probably be along that order. That's really exciting, because what it does is it's taking money out of the equation. It's vastly reducing the amount of money that needs to get spent on having food delivered. But then if you bring in the charities, as you're mentioning, James, like let's say there are churches that are routinely preparing meals for lots of people who need it. And food is delivered to them. Well, there, no money is changing hands at all, because donated food shows up at these churches or charities. They prepare it and package it, deliver it, whatever, or serve people right there in their own facility, whatever the case may be. But the point is that a whole bunch of people got fed and no money changed hands. So you see how we're, through these different mechanisms, we're either vastly reducing, or in some cases totally eliminating the amount of the role that money plays in all this. And why should money play a role in providing everyone with basic foods? I mean, I'm sure folks could make arguments, and they've certainly been made before, as to why money plays an important role. But I'm just saying, does it have to? And if it does have to, how do we reduce that to a minimum, right? So anyway, going on mute.
Well, the farmer would have to be recompensed for his labor. The delivery drivers would have to be recompensed for their labor. The kitchen staff and so the community volunteers is a different situation. They are what they are, volunteers. So that is something, that can be solved there. But, right from the farmer to the kitchen staff and deliveries, they all have to be recompensed because they also have livings. You know what I mean? It's not just about free food, obviously. So
Yeah.
money has to come onto it. But I see, right, like, obviously the price of the money, it disappears, but people still have to make a living. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying we can minimize the footprint of money on the whole operation. Jackie needs to take off. Thank you so much, Jackie. Great hanging with you here. Feel free to say hello or goodbye or whatever if you like. Otherwise, look forward to seeing you soon. Anyway, not that the elimination of money is the goal. The elimination of hunger is the goal. I'm just saying we can get quite creative about it, because you can imagine a scenario. I mean, just literally imagine a world where, like if you're driving down the street, you're going to meet some friends for dinner or something like that. You might even be running late, but if you see and hear an ambulance in your rearview mirror, you just immediately pull over, right? Everyone makes way for the ambulance. What if in our society, everyone made way for everyone being fed and properly nourished? We just made way for that. And, I didn't pull over the ambulance and say, hey, you need to pay me money in order to pass, right? No, there was no, we simply made way for it, simply. Well, how would we do it? I don't know. But I'm just saying, just in broad brushstrokes, what if we made way for that? Anyway, going on mute again. And love everyone's comments. Please jump in. Comment away. It's open mic, and no one's at the mic. There's no queue, so just jump in.
Well, basically, I'm going to jump in. So basically, starting with, as you said, with the, is it the governor or mayor or someone you were saying there in the state you were on about, that would be a good starting state. It's basically a matter of coordination is the way I see it. That's all it is, like coordinated and starting at the farmers that are facing the prospects of having to destroy future crops, like. So it's contacting them to give them a way out, to be recompensed for the work that, doesn't have to be plowed back into the ground again. They can, give the food out there. They can see they're going to want to do that anyway. No farmer wants to put hard work into growing a crop, which he takes pride in, and then plow it all back into the ground again. I know it only serves one purpose, which is to compost the ground, really, like, in a sense, but it's a sin, like, and a farmer that's exactly what a farmer would think. This is a sin. You know what I mean? I have to plow all this food back into the ground. So they would definitely be on board, as long as they're being recompensed, as I said. So it's only a matter of starting the organization of it. Right? That's the way I see it anyway. Like, but you need a network for that. Like.
Yeah, anyway, lots of details need to be worked out. But for me, the starting point, the first step is very clear. And that's really the only step that needs to be crystal clear. Because once we unleash that, just like I didn't know what all the results were going to be when I announced to the world that I was creating the first premium brand of legal cannabis, right? I didn't know if I was going to get arrested or what. And it's been one heck of an adventure since then that still hasn't ended. It's ongoing, but that's another story for another day. But the bottom line is, it's impossible to predict what's going to come of all this. But just like with the story Stone Soup, was there any guarantee that those guys weren't going to end up with a pot of hot water with a stone at the bottom? Right? you know, what guarantees can there possibly be? What I'm saying is we need to do what is both the obvious, the most urgent, the most crucial, and the most foundation building step we can take as a species, especially considering what we're up against: exponential climate change, pandemic, economic contraction come collapse, all happening at once. Hunger, right? People with other basic needs that aren't getting met, but hunger is kind of the first and most basic, I would say, right? Anyway, more comments, please jump in. Open mic.
Jamin?
Hey, Uncle Frank. Yes.
Yes. You may have gone through this before, but
Hey, Uncle Frank, all of a sudden we cannot hear you. Here's what we could hear. We heard you say, Jamin, you may have gone through this before, but, and then we didn't hear anything after that. I'm going to pause recording. Oh, hey, Uncle Frank. Now we can see you. We couldn't hear you before. And now you're on mute, if you want to unmute.
no, but it's because my connection is unstable. But I just wanted to know what steps you went through to decide upon Louisville as a starting point. Did you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I got your question. Why Louisville is a starting point? Well, first of all, Dr. Shively, it's because it's right next to Shively, Kentucky. That's actually true. Shively, Kentucky is basically a big suburb town of Louisville. But no, that's a joke because that's our last name. But the mayor of Louisville is, by all accounts, amazing, and has declared Louisville to be the most compassionate city in America. And that constitutes a bit of a throwdown, if you will, because that opens the door for us to say, all right, Mr. Compassionate, most compassionate city, are you so compassionate that you'd be willing to work with us to eradicate hunger in Louisville? And in so doing, transform the situation so that people no longer have to leave their homes to get food. We deliver nutritious, whole food, plant-based meals to everyone in Louisville, other than those who don't want them, of course, right? But everyone else gets their meals delivered to them. So accomplishing a couple of amazing things. Number one, we eradicate hunger and malnutrition in Louisville. We make it so that people don't have to leave their homes to get food. Food comes to them, thus stopping the spread of what I call via code word Dos Equis, right? And so, and really, it also opens up the conversation about plant-based diets, and where the answer now to the question why plant-based is because it was animal products that gave us pandemics in the first place. Animal products are behind virtually all pandemics. The fact that people started eating animals, before animal agriculture, factory farming, etc., we didn't have pandemics. So that's the simple and most powerful reason. And we simply focus on the positive, immune boosting plant-based diets that increase and improve people's health and longevity overall. And at the same time, that helps heal the planet as well. So it accomplishes multiple positives in one fell swoop. And then by proving the model in one city, with the appropriate use of the media, which I am an expert at working with, and causing the right story to go big. And I'll be right there. I mean, we're now meeting for many hours per week. This kind of nascent leadership team, which is certainly going to grow, but currently consists of Silas, Dr. Priya, Nike, and John Raymer, and myself, preparing for meetings with current city governments. And we've got a short list of 4 different cities that we're looking at, of which Louisville is one. And we may start with more than one city, but the point is to start somewhere and have a press conference somewhere, which can also include a whole bunch of people dialing in via Zoom. It can be a Zoom press conference, but we'll also have a physical component. That's kind of the key differentiator, because we want to take the press into the restaurant kitchens, into the churches, into all the places where the food is being prepared. We want to take them to the countryside, to the farms where the produce is getting picked. And we want to take them to the homes of people where we're making deliveries for the first time and look at their reactions. Anyway, going on mute. Love to hear more questions or comments.